In a recent blog post and Facebook post, I've spoken a lot about Jesus giving Peter a mission to feed his sheep. And since I've brought it up so much, I thought I'd do a quick video on the passage to see if it'd be helpful. It's in John 21 where we actually see Jesus repeatedly asking Simon, previously known as Peter, and previously before that known as Simon, if he, Simon, loved him, Jesus. Jesus repeatedly asked Simon, "Do you love me?" Peter, for his part, repeatedly says the same thing. "Yes, Jesus, you know I do. You know all things. You know I love you." To that, Jesus always replies some version of this: "Feed my sheep. Take care of my sheep." So this idea of claiming to love Jesus, I just love Jesus, is an increasingly popular idea in the world today, ironically, in our world today, especially amongst evangelical Christians. It's a fine idea. Who doesn't love Jesus, right? It's awesome. The problem? Well, the problem is Jesus. He seems to be saying, that claiming a love for him must come with action, and frequently quite detestable action at that. The required action seems to be nothing heroic, right? It's actually rather humiliating. It's very self-sacrificing. You see, feeding and caring for sheep is not work that's designed for the ego, right? It's not something that's going to make you feel better about yourself. Peter actually would have originally suspected it was quite beneath him. You see, in Peter's day, people who tended sheep were actually the lowliest people in the household, maybe even the servants of the household. Peter knew that. Peter knew that what Jesus was actually doing here was becoming even the lowliest in his own household. That's what was happening here to Simon. But I suspect after Peter's failure, remember, he denied and abandoned Jesus at Jesus' darkest hour. After Peter's failure, he probably would have accepted almost any assignment, right? See, that's what failure affords us. We all hate failure. We hate the idea of failure. We try to avoid failure at all costs. But what failure affords us is something indispensable. It affords us humility. That's why failure is critical in life. It gives us this one shame-busting event that we can't create on our own, apart from failing at something. So it's here. Somehow, we try to remember what greatness looks like in the kingdom of heaven. That's what Jesus used to call it. What greatness looks like in the eyes of Jesus. And in his eyes, in the kingdom of heaven, this is where the least are the greatest, and the greatest are the least. So Simon has been made the least, the lowliest in his household. But remember, in Jesus' world, everything is upside down. The greatest aren't the greatest. The greatest are the least. And the least aren't the least are the greatest. To Jesus, the proud will be humbled. The humbled will be exalted. All right? Everything's upside down. This is the mission of God, is what I suggest. We think oftentimes that the mission of God on earth was to get us all into heaven, right? Some might even preach that the mission of God is, while we're waiting on heaven, is to make us prosperous here, to make us wealthy here, to get us rich here. You hear that a lot today. We do this because the actual mission of God on earth, to humble us, to exalt the lowly, and to humble the proud, is often a lot less pleasant than the idea of getting to heaven or becoming rich. Being driven into humility is not a pleasant idea for many of us. There's no glory in sheep, for crying out loud. They can be ornery, stupid, and they're often completely ungrateful. They often have no actual appreciation or love for you personally, no matter how much care you give them. They certainly don't deserve the kind of care you give them. All they care about is that you feed them. You're not going to get gratitude from them for any of your efforts. In fact, they may just get ornery with you the more you work for them. And Jesus says this, "Do you love me, Simon? If you do, take care of my sheep." Do you love me, Simon? Care for the ungrateful. Do you love me, Simon? Feed those who are hungry, who may not even deserve your care. Do you love me, Simon? Feed my sheep. What's important to note here, and I've brought it up a couple times, is that Peter is not actually even called Peter here in this story either. Even though by this point, Jesus has already changed his name from Simon to Peter. In this moment, Peter, now Simon again, is no longer the rock. That's who Jesus made him early on in the mission. He made Peter the rock. That's a cool title. That's a sort of mission we all want. We all want to become the rock, right? The rock on which the church will be built. That name is gone. Here at the end of the mission, he's just Simon. He's just a man. He's no longer the foundation of the church. He's no longer has his title of a powerful mission. Being just Simon is just humbling. But humbled in the kingdom of heaven is greatness. And we cannot miss how the mission of God in this world is to not build a greatness as we understand it, but to build humility. That's the mission of God in the world. And the path to the mission of God is through what feels like failure, abject failure. Matthew even points out an interesting twist on all this in Matthew 25. In Matthew 25, Jesus makes it clear that the lowliest of these, the hungry, the aliens, right, the naked, the prisoners, all these people who are the sheep of the world, the lowliest of the world, the ungrateful of the world, the poor of the world, those we often don't want to take care of, well, in Matthew 25, Jesus says they are actually him. They are actually Jesus himself. The lowliest of the people, Jesus says, they are me. So when we choose to welcome aliens, when we choose to feed the hungry, when we choose to clothe the naked and visit the prisoners, when we choose to do all these things, no matter how objectionable we find them, no matter how ungrateful we find them, no matter how ornery we find them, we have to remind ourselves, it is Jesus himself we are welcoming. When you're taking care of Jesus' sheep, we are taking care of Jesus himself. Conversely, Jesus says in Matthew 25, if we decline to do so, if we decline to welcome the alien, if we decline to feed the hungry, if we decline to clothe the naked, we are declining the opportunity to love Jesus himself. Do you love me, Simon? Then take care of my sheep. For Jesus, this is incredibly logical. To us, it's insanely illogical. But this is the logic of the kingdom of heaven. If we say we have accepted Jesus in our heart, right, a common refrain, but we have no place for his sheep, no place for the lowly in our hearts, well, then we have no place for Jesus in our hearts either. Shame is going to insist that we get a bigger mission, something more powerful, something grander, something we'll get applause for. Shame will insist we make a name for ourselves, right? Shame will insist we be noticed, applauded, awarded. Jesus will insist that we not listen to shame, but simply do the task that has been given to us to feed his sheep, to take care of the least of these, and know that in what we've done for the least of these, we have done for him.